The fastest land mammal on Earth is the cheetah. Cheetahs are known for their speed. It's unique to them, making their identification very easy. When an animal is clocked running over 60 miles per hour, it can be assumed that it is a cheetah. However, cheetahs are not always running, but we can identify them through their other characteristics such as the unique black marks under their eyes and its non-retractable claws. If a cheetah is confined to a small space, they will exhibit problematic behaviors such as pacing and flinging itself against its cage. The cheetah's innate drive to run is being suppressed. The cheetah serves as an analogy for the gifted individual. Our current education system is focused to serve the population within 2 standard deviations on either side of the mean. The problem with this is that not all youth fall within the given parameters. While the needs of those on the left side of the mean are generally recognized and met, the inverse side of the spectrum does not receive equal consideration. These individuals, also known as the gifted population, are essentially being cheated. According to the National Association for Gifted Children, gifted is defined as youth who give evidence of high achievement capability in such areas as intellectual, creative, artistic, or leadership capacity, or in specific academic fields, and who need services or activities not ordinarily provided by the school in order to fully develop those capabilities. Kazimierz Dabrowski identified 5 characteristics known as the overexcitabilities that are common to gifted individuals. These are psychomotor, sensual, intellectual, imaginational, and emotional. While many individuals exhibit one of these characteristics, multiple overexcitabilities in an individual warrants for an investigation into the possibility of giftedness. Psychomotor is an intensity that is described as having a surplus of energy. Think attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Individuals with this overexcitability experience rapid speech, an intense need for physical activity, and a need for action, among other things. Sensual is an intensity that is described as a heightened experience of the 5 senses. Individuals with this overexcitability experience overstimulation and are often uncomfortable with too much sensory input. Something as small as a clothing tag, classroom noise, or smells from cooking can greatly distract these individuals. Intellectual is an intensity that is described as an overwhelming need to seek knowledge, understanding, and truth. Individuals with this overexcitability experience the ability to plan elaborately, have remarkably detailed recall, and are often excited to learn new things more than the average individual. Imaginational is an intensity that is described as having a heightened imagination. Individuals that experience this overexcitability experience detailed visualization, imaginary companions, and find it difficult to pay attention in classes where creativity and imagination are secondary. Emotional is an intensity that is described as a heightened level of feeling emotions. Individuals with this overexcitability often have strong emotional attachments to people, places, or things. They also have a high level of compassion, empathy, and sensitivity. Within giftedness, there are some individuals that are considered to be twice exceptional. These are individuals who are identified as gifted and talented, but are also identified with one or more disability or condition. These individuals often go unidentified by the current education system, and they are diagnosed with just learning disabilities. Stephen is an adolescent who has been identified as twice exceptional. After private testing, he was diagnosed with central auditory processing disorder, as well as other sensory processing issues in 5th grade. He was later identified to be gifted as well in the 7th grade. In traditional school, he was falling through the cracks. A teacher told his mom he was lazy, even though it was physically impossible for him to copy the notes from the board. I sat down to interview him on his experience in traditional school versus a school that has an individualized education plan for him. Stephen, you have been identified as twice exceptional. You began your academic career in the traditional school system. Can you please tell me more about that?
I attended traditional school from kindergarten through 5th grade. I struggled all through school, especially with writing. I was getting lost in the cracks. I was put into remedial classes where people wouldn't know what a verb was or they couldn't do basic math.
Your mom tells me she has now placed you in a school with a more individualized education plan. Can you please tell me more about that?
Now I'm making A's in pre-calculus and physics. I am taking senior level honors literature even though I'm only a junior. Without a more individualized plan that addressed my strengths as well as my weaknesses, I would have never performed at this level.
Michael is an adolescent who has been identified as highly or profoundly gifted. He is currently in the 7th grade and enrolled in 9th and 10th grade honors courses for English and math. I sat down to interview him on his experience in traditional school versus a school that has an individualized education plan for him. Michael, you have been identified as either highly or profoundly gifted. You began your academic career in the traditional school system. Can you please tell me more about that?
Well, I only attended traditional school for 2 years, kindergarten and 1st grade. But I found it frustrating. I already knew how to count, add, subtract, and read when I entered the school system, so most of the school day was busy work and endless repetition of what I already knew. I was bored. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn about dinosaurs, planets, cells, and most importantly, history. The history of where I was from, the history of where I'm not from. I wanted to learn it all.
Your mom tells me she has now moved you into a school with a more individualized education plan for you. Can you please tell me more about that?
My parents moved me into a virtual school in my 2nd grade year. My new school is more accommodating. By completing unit tests, I could complete the curriculum at my own pace. More importantly, the curriculum offered more depth that I could explore. My parents soon found out that that wasn't enough either, and they added it to the curriculum. I now set my own pace, mostly. Like in 5th grade, my literature teacher let me read The Fellowship of the Ring, since it was at my Lexile level. She gave me more complex questions to think about and answer, which heightened my understanding of the book. Since I got into high school, I have to follow the pace of the high school teacher. That gets frustrating. I mainly try to get the assignment done and over with so I can learn about what I want to learn about.
If you could change one thing about your school now, what would it be?
I wish I could learn about things I want to learn about. I'm curious about things. I want to follow my own rabbit trails. I want to go on my own path, not one that everyone else is on. We all have different interests, ideas, places we want to visit, things we want to learn. Why are we all on the same path? For example, I wanted to learn more about DNA. A fact was stated to me that 6 feet of DNA fit into each cell. I didn't believe it, but with other research and sources, I learned that they are actually packed around the histone, similar to thread packed around a spool. And that is how 6 feet of DNA fits into each cell. Or, I also wanted to learn about what's in an atom. I've been told that there's nothing in between the nucleus and the electrons. I know now that that's not true. There's quantum fluctuation fields in between, which I won't go into, but they're quite fascinating.
Stephen and Michael are just 2 of the success stories of gifted youth that are now excelling after having individualized education plans established for them. They are engaged with their schoolwork and are happy individuals. Lower high school dropout rates with early intervention in elementary school. We are all different. Why should our education paths be identical? Every gifted individual should have their own education plan. Stop cheating our cheetahs.